'cause all of the stars have faded away. Just try not to worry, you'll see them someday. Take what you need, I'll be on your way, and stop crying your heart out. Get up, come on. Why you scared?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nunnker. Obviously back. You guys saw the return video and all, so I'm back now to do my UFC 112 Invincible predictions. This event will be on Saturday, April 10th, in Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, for the first time. So before I get to the predictions, I just want to go over some of my thoughts about this because it is the first ever UFC outdoor event. Personally, I don't like this idea. I think if it works out, it'll be really cool. And I think it will work out, but I just think it's a little bit risky because if you compare the good things and the bad things that could happen with this, I think that I wouldn't take the risk of doing this. I mean, even though it probably won't rain in Abu Dhabi, you know, sandstorms, you know, sand could get fighters' eyes, whatever. If there's, you know, high winds, it's going to be really hot in Abu Dhabi. It's in a desert, you know, that's going to cause them to sweat more. Even BJ Penn said that he's kind of worried about that, about the humidity there, because then it'll, you know, they'll sweat more, which will make it harder to get submissions in. So, you know, it can make the fighters more tired because it'll be really hot, you know. It won't be, you know, indoors and with air, but whatever. I mean, it's a cool idea. I get, you know, I don't really mind it. I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's cool. But just some things there to think about. All right, so now let's get to the predictions. I'm gonna do quick ones for the I'm gonna do quick predictions for the preliminary card, and then I'm gonna do in depth on the main card. All right, so first fight of the night we got John Madsen, Ultimate Fighter 10, the heavyweights castmate against Mustafa Al-Turk. Al-Turk, I think, honestly, I don't think he really belongs in the UFC. He's 0-2 in the UFC. He lost to Czech Congo and Krokop, both by TKO. He's 6-5. He's just not that good, and that's not, you know, I'm not really saying that Madsen is all that great, but I do think he'll win this fight. I think it'll be close though. I wasn't that impressed by Madsen, to tell you the truth, on the show. I think he's a pretty one-dimensional, boring wrestler. 4-0, but you know, obviously he lost on the show to Rory Nelson. So I'm gonna go with Madsen here though by split decision. All right, next fight of the night, Matt Veach against Paul Kelly. These are two prospects. I think Matt Veach has a very bright future. Obviously, he put on a great fight against Frankie Edgar in his last fight. He did lose second round submission or second round TKO. I don't remember. But it was, you know, he did really good. He took Edgar down. He slammed Edgar. He held his own, and you know, now Edgar's getting a title shot. But that's his only loss. He's 11-1. He beat Matt Grice in the UFC, vicious knockout. So Paul Kelly, at one point I thought he'd be pretty good, but I don't know. He's coming off a loss. Since dropping the lightweight, he's looked all right. He's pretty exciting. He's 10-2, but I think Veach is just going to be more well-rounded in this fight, and I think he's going to be able to get it to the ground by using superior wrestling and exposing Paul Kelly's not-so-great ground game. We've seen Kelly get submitted before to Marcus Davis, and I think Veach is better on the ground than Davis, so I'm going by Veach by submission. Next fight of the night, we got DeMarcus Johnson against Brad Blackburn. I think this is possibly one of the closest fights of the night. DeMarcus Johnson, he was on the Ultimate Fighter 8, I believe, or was it the Ultimate Fighter 9, I think. Whatever. Anyways, he did pretty good. I think he was runner-up. He since then has won. He beat, I think it was Edgar Garcia in his last fight. Let me check that. Yes, it was. It was Edgar Garcia, where he was losing the fight, I think, up till then. I don't remember the fight that great, but I believe he was losing, and then he came with a come-from-behind submission victory. I don't think DeMarcus is anything that great. You know, he's got heart. He's pretty good. You know, pretty well rounded. But Brad Blackburn, Brad Blackburn, he's I think 4-1 in the UFC. He's beating Rio Shonan. Looked decent in the Amir Sadala fight. Not that great. He usually looks better. Um, Pretty good striker. I'm gonna go with Brad Blackburn here by a decision, unanimous decision. Next fight of the night, we got Nick Ospizak, if I said that right, also an Ultimate Fighter 8, or it was Ultimate Fighter 9. Ultimate Fighter 9 castmate, taking on Rick Story. Rick Story, I think, is is a guy to look out for. He lost his debut, but since then, he's won his last two. He looked really good in his last fight against Jesse Lennox. He's 9-3. Nick Ospizak, I think that he's I don't know. I don't think he's anything that great. On the show, his stand up didn't look all that great. I mean, that's the best part of his game, but honestly, I don't know. He's just not that devastating in any area. And I think Rick Story here is gonna win by I'm gonna go with Rick Story by a decision. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Rick Story, or I'm gonna go with Rick Story by submission. He's got a lot of submission wins on his career, and I think Nick Ospizak's ground game is just not that good. So I'm going by Story by submission. Next fight of the night, we got Paul Taylor against John Gunderson. I'm a big Paul Taylor fan. He's got great stand up. He doesn't win all of his fights, but he always puts on a good fight. He's had great wars against Chris Lytle, Paul Kelly, I don't know, a few other Crocodile, a couple great fights in the UFC. He's looked pretty good, I think, since moving to lightweight, I believe. I think Gunderson, I haven't seen him fight too many times, but from looking at his record, he's a pretty well-rounded guy. But I think Taylor here is I think he's just better. So, I mean, that's also, I'm not really saying that from experience, but just looking at the guys that Gunderson fought, and compared to the guy that Taylor fought and his performances in his fights, I'm gonna go with Taylor here by a decision. Next fight of the night, we got Alexander Gustafsson, if I pronounce that right, against Phil Davis. Phil Davis looked really good against Brian Stann, though I think that he got a little bit too much hype when he first came into the UFC. Brian Stann, yeah, he looked pretty good there, but people all of a sudden are comparing him to GSP and Anthony Johnson and all these guys, and honestly, you can't compare him based off his fight against Brian Stann. He didn't finish Stann. Yeah, he dominated him. He looked pretty good. He looked very athletic, but he's only 5-0, and I think we still got to see a lot from him. Alexander, tough test. He's 9-0. He's a knockout striker. A lot of his wins by KO. But I'm gonna go with Phil Davis here. I mean, I was impressed by Phil Davis. I think he's getting a little bit too much hype. But I'm gonna go with Davis by decision here. All right, I'm gonna make a part 2 to this. So stick out for that. I'm gonna make it right after this. So that's gonna be the main card. All right. Sorry that kind of dragged on, but watch part 2.